speed. The fight. You're on your own. Not anymore with Init Esports.
Hello and welcome everybody back once again to the Init Esports channel, here for another screen to speed race, our all women's championship, as we get ready to dive on into it. Today, we head over to a North American course, Virginia International Raceways, for the North course in the VIR. It's going to be, in the Formula V. It's going to be an absolute thrilling ride. Low horsepower cars, lots of elevation. This track aptly called the Nürburgring of the United States. You're going to find out why shortly. But before we get into that, we are going to take a little look back to our previous race that we had with the name Sarah Dove ringing true in everybody's head. Let's take a look back at the highlights. Green, green, green is the flag color, and Lucia Tosi going to be challenging Sarah into turn one around the outside. It's a long way to the top if you're Lucia Tosi, but trying to capitalize early is the best way to make moves here.
This is going to be a little sketchy side by side, but it's going to be a long side door to door, and it's very tight between Emma and Geisler, and they almost touch, but leave plenty of room for racing.
Enough room to fit a credit card. Is it going to be the same on this occasion? Yes, it is. No contact made again, and getting the win now for Sarah Dove. She crosses the line in first. Christina Ryan comes home in second. Lucia Tosi finishing that podium off in third. The green flag is out and everybody is off in the same hurry. Three abreast down into the first corner. It's going to be Christina Ryan trying to hold on to Lucia Tosi as she's going to run her opponent out wide, give her the squeeze, but no position made just yet.
Turn one and the door is wide open for the number 80 to get alongside the 177, and it's going to be Dove relinquishing first place right now, but can the Castrol badge car find the way around at turn number 4? The long way around at turn number 4. It's going to be a drag in towards turn number 5 where you really got to kick the rear end out and get it gripped up.
It's going to be Dove leading Tosi, leading Ryan at the moment, but anything can flip on its head as we see Christina Ryan getting her nose back to the inside. Tosi on an unfavorable line for now, but that unfavorable line will turn to the inside once again.
Slingshots their way up at turn 9 into the inside run for the 177, and I think this might be the opportune moment for Lucia Tosi, Mike. Run down towards turn 2 and turn 3. The slight little chicane might go Dove's way around the outside.
Christina Ryan is all over the back, looking to the inside once again. She's late on the brakes. Tosi is out wide, Sauger. This battle is not going anywhere.
Oh my goodness, this is going to be a drag to the line as the checkered flag comes out. It will go the way for Christina Ryan, but Sarah Dove is less than a millisecond ahead of Tosi at the end of the day, with Wesser coming home in P4, Geisler in P5, Emma Galasso in P6, Emma Dempsey in 7th, Olivia in 8th, Alexis Barrington in 9th, Carly Carvalho in 10th, Afrin Shahid in 11th, and Madeline O'Connell will round out the 12 participants.
Now, Sauger, that of course being in the previous race, we saw a lot of battling through, especially the second race. Christina Ryan, Sarah Dove really giving it their all down to the last lap. Sauger, why don't you walk us through a little bit about that one as well?
It was a great last lap showdown. I mean, Christina Ryan bringing it home and taking it to first place was absolutely fantastic. But looking at tonight's event format, it's going to be a little bit different here at VIR, Mike.
Yes, it certainly is. Same race format, however, different car, different track, and my goodness, a much different style of racing that we're going to be seeing out there. Virginia International Raceway is the track in the Formula V, a very low horsepower car, roughly 70 horsepower in an air-cooled VW engine with a 1.4 liter flat four. And the race format, again, tonight being 2 15-minute races, so the drivers able to get back out there and try once more. It's going to be an exciting one, a little lower turnout this time around, but of course, if you are interested in getting involved, you can find the signups over on our website over at screentospeed.com or inesports.gg. Now, also, a little bit of mention to the sponsor of tonight as well, of course, our title sponsor for this series, Regadget. Whether you have a PC sitting in a corner and you need something to do, send it off. Don't throw it in the garbage. Regadget will pay for the shipping and have you send it over. And on top of that, you can see here on your screen one of the most affordable bundles on the market right now, their Phoenix bundle, an absolute steal of a deal. If you head over to their website and use code INIT, you can even find yourself getting a discount. Scan that QR code, head over again to shop.regadget.com. Find the Phoenix bundle with a 30, 60, and all sorts of different specs, especially with these RAM prices these days. You can find quite a good deal. You do not want to miss the opportunity to, again, one more time, use code INIT if you want an even better deal at that. Now, Sauger, we also, of course, have AK Esports UK being our production for tonight. And on top of that, we are live over on Esports Edge and Roku. A massive shout out to everybody over there and the eClutch team as well over in the MENA region. Tonight, as you can see down in the bottom right-hand corner, we're going to be racing on the iRacing platform, Sauger. Why don't you talk us through a little bit about what we expect to see leading up here tonight?
What we expect to see here tonight is going to be some close wheel-to-wheel racing, and it's going to be tight coming up the hill through the S's. Without any further delay, let's get to the racing action.
Qualifying done and dusted. The drivers out on track already here and race. It looks like we have Jess Wesser in the lead. Katharina Geisler behind the dynamic German duo leading 1-2, and Olivia Krasnowska behind in third. Afrin Sheed bringing up fourth position right now. Again, mentioned earlier, a little bit smaller of a turnout this time. We're certainly hoping next time around to see quite a few more drivers out on the grid as we had in our previous race. But right now, Krasnowska on the back of Geisler, but not quite falling off. Right now, it's just the dynamic duo working up front.
Jessica Wesser and Katharina Geisler, yes, going toe-to-toe right now, coming through the first sector here at VIR. It's one of my favorite tracks, and it is showing that the drivers are definitely equipped to handle the challenge. Last lap around being down into the 150s in these short-legged machines, and they're able to produce pretty epic runs.
Especially once we start to get these cars up to speed. See, they have very, very wide tires, and on top of that, they have grooved slick tires. So with the traction limitations already being a little bit of an issue, these cars having even more of that with a basically debuff thrown onto the car right away. Now, these drivers, they don't seem to care too much, especially when you can see through this high-speed sector. It's all about commitment. You might even see some drivers dipping a tire off into the grass in that little corner that we just saw, the curbs here. Being a friend rather than a foe. You can see they're very low to the ground, but Sauger, the grass is never far away.
No, it's not. The edge of the racetrack is right here at the edge of the racetrack's asphalt. So any small margin of error will mean huge mistakes being paid by some of the drivers. Yes, we have a lot of runoff road here at VIR, but the barriers are never too close, or they're always too close to the racetrack, in my opinion, because the grass is just so slippery here. Once you get onto it, you're just turned into an ice skater, and you just keep on skating on, even though you have the brakes full on lock. Here comes the number 32 of Katharina Geisler as she chases down her counterpart up in front.
Board now with Katharina. As we can see, that slipstream is going to play a massive role. These cars, they don't have basically any aerodynamics whatsoever to speak of, as you can quite clearly see the gearbox in the car ahead. Geisler on the back end, this being the best one of the best overtaking opportunities into that right-hander. The problem is, you can see it's a very shallow corner, so getting to that inside requires a very early commitment and also a bit of work from the driver ahead as well. They need to almost let you by in that corner. Katharina, though, getting a very solid run, the slipstream playing roles, but this is almost where Sagar being fast on all the wrong parts of the track is going to be very frustrating here for Geisler.
Absolutely true. It's going to be a little bit challenging to stay in the dirty air of the car in front and have to follow in the wake, especially coming through the hog pen. You see there, Geisler backs off of Wesser in the lead, even short shifts down the front straightaway, knowing that they'll catch up to the pack ahead here shortly. Taking a look further back, here's Olivia, the Scotland driver. I was going to say Scotland, but that's not accurate at all. The Scottish driver, I should say, the 899 of
Olivia being a previous podium sitter here at Screen to Speed this time around. I mean, I don't want to say it's looking quite likely, but statistically speaking, I would say so. So Krasnowska, oh goodness, looking up ahead though, hold that thought, as we have Geisler with a bit of a lockup. Now, that's one thing about these cars that I was going to talk about as well, is the fact that you really cannot use 100% braking pressure in these machines. They are very inherently slow. They have no anti-locking brakes whatsoever, and therefore using too much of those brakes is going to be absolutely devastating. Even still, you can see when you lift fully off the throttle in these cars, the back end also starts to get loose. These things weigh approximately nothing, even with a driver on board. So just trying to keep them planted down at the tarmac is a challenge in itself. Now having to deal with your counterpart up ahead, definitely going to avoid collision, as there's going to be an awkward conversation at the dinner table that we often bring up if that happens. But here we go, Sagar. Potentially, no, not on this occasion. Where do you pull the trigger now if you're Katharina?
I think if you're Katharina, you really got to look for opportunity going down into turn one. You want to stay tight coming through here at the hog pen, but now it'll be a challenge for Geisler further back than Wesser, or is it going to be further back as a little mistake made from the car up ahead? Challenges for the lead there. The 22 now leads over the 32.
A slight little mistake is going to cost it all. Let's see, they'll get Katharina onto the back now. In the first corner, not going to see any sort of opportunities. You also can see that little puff of smoke coming out the back. That doesn't always mean it's a lockup. That is just when they downshift. Again, these little 1.4 flat fours, they're air-cooled. They got to get rid of the heat somewhere and the exhaust somewhere, and so it goes straight behind into the driver's face. Katharina, not too deterred by that whatsoever, and still just waiting and biding the time for an opportunity now is the goal, as we have plenty, again, of chances, but really turn one going to be your best overtaking opportunity down that start-finish straight. Get a good run out of 13, the hard end, and into the braking zone. Alternatively, this corner as well, if you can get a good enough run into it. But again, you have to be almost fully alongside, as that tight, high-speed apex can cause almost an airplane crash if you are not cautious.
Or trying to force a mistake coming through, what would that be? Out of the snake, I guess, through turn 7, right? Or out of left hook, right? The technicalities of it. It's where you really want to force a mistake from the driver ahead, I think, is the best possible move, Mike. I mean, when you're stuck behind someone who's equally matched as you are, let's say, because I've seen both of these drivers operate outside of the screen to speed events as well. And it really comes down to they participate in a similar number of events. They get the similar amount of seat time. They're equally matched in general. So unfortunately, when we do talk about Katharina and Jess at the same time, we do say it in the same breath. It's always Kat and Jess, right?
Oh, absolutely, and they're showing it right now, and you mentioned as well some previous other races. If you want to get involved also in some other races here at Init Esports, not only do we have the Init team that you can join, that is going to be, of course, for all official iRacing races, and then on top of that, some other community races as well in different communities. If that's something that interests you, again, head on over to the website. You can find more information there. That's initesports.gg/carsim, C-A-R-S-I-M. That's where you can find all of the awesome information about all of the other events. And on top of that, of course, Team America being one of the features as well that we put on here at Init Esports. I almost had to say hold that thought now, as I keep seeing some aggression from Katrina, but it's just again a matter of time of when, I think, not if. But back to the topic at hand against Team America. Coming up very shortly next month, it is going to be June 7th at Road America. So we go from one American circuit to the other. Goodness me, Sauger. That's enough talking about that for right now, because Jess Wesser is in all sorts of trouble right now. Katrina, previous lap and the lap before that, is nearly 0.3 of a second quicker, despite being bottlenecked right now. If you were to unleash Katrina, I don't see how there's any way that Jess would be able to keep up. Now that slipstream, of course, will play a role.
It will play a role for certain. As we take a look at the Delta, it continues to diminish before our very own eyes, coming down in towards turn 1, the horseshoe. Still the 22 ahead of the 32. And the distinction between their liveries right now is the color scheme that they have. And boy, oh boy, are those some good-looking paint schemes out on the racetrack, Mike.
Oh, they absolutely are. And on top of that, of course, you can use the official Screen to Speed logo, as it's in iRacing. So no matter what livery you have, you can throw a Screen to Speed logo on. Again, that's our all-women's championship, what you're watching live right now. Or if you're a VOD watcher, again, just thank you as well for that. If you're over on YouTube, or again, over on Esports Edge or eClutch, we have a massive debt of gratitude to all of you watching, and of course to the teams behind that as well. Battling here, again, every single time we come into this, Katharina is taking that corner much sharper. I almost wonder if she's able to take a wider exit, maybe go for a little bit of a switchback. The problem, though, is we enter the sort of reason, Sauger, that this track got the name, the Nürburgring of North America. Constant left, right, elevation change after elevation change, and the corners, Sauger, are nearly blind.
Especially here through the roller coaster section of turn 10, 11, 12A and 12B, and then jettisoning out of the hog pen there. The drivers basically drop 3 stories. I mean, coming from California, I wouldn't call it a corkscrew. It's a little baby corkscrew maybe, Mike.
Some bias is being shown here in the commentary booth, no doubt. But hey, Laguna Seca, of course, a track that is near and dear to everybody's heart, and one that we sadly, I don't think, have on the calendar here this 6-month stint. So
synchronized spins!
As Katharina and Jess both overcook it into the braking zone. This is going to bring Olivia Krasnowska back into conversation. There's no position changes, but a lockup from Jess, and I wonder if that was a bit of monkey see, monkey do, Sauger. Katharina, she followed suit and fell for that one, hook, line, and sinker.
Absolutely. Now, slow and steady wins the race tonight, probably, as Olivia sees the horizon now. After a long 13 minutes of basically driving by themselves, they find themselves in the mix, not only for the podium battle, but the battle for the lead is very much on as Olivia looks to the inside line on Katharina Geisler. The door was promptly shut here and now.
And with 2 minutes left, Sauger, this is the exact opportunity that Olivia was looking for. You know that her eyes just opened wider than anything on this planet, or wider than a colossal squid in reality. But now, she has to put the work in. The driver's up ahead. You know that they're both going to be a little flustered after that. And on top of that, the tires may be slightly above temperature. So this is the time. This is the place. Can Olivia Krasnowska bring it back home. She's had some success recently in the real-life racing sphere. Let's see if she can bring it virtually down the start-finish straight. We've talked about this in previous races, but I'll mention it now. The slipstream effect is accumulative. So the car that's third is going to have more slipstream than the car that's in second when they're all in line, Sauger, but they're side by side right now. In fact, heck, let's make it 3 wide nearly heading into the braking zone of 1. It's going to settle as it was, but Olivia, you can see the hunger in her eyes and the opportunities opening up potentially as the door is wide open, but it's a door to the outside, unfortunately, and that's not going to be the move that she wanted.
But the door was ajar, and that's definitely going to keep the hopes and dreams alive for the 899, who dips a couple wheels off into the grass to kick that rear end out and get the rotation in through NASCAR and left hook. Now through 4 and 4B, it'll be up the hill through the snake section next.
Olivia's fixing for some trouble right now, is heading into the braking zone. She's looking to sell a dummy onto Katharina Geisler, but no, you got to wake up pretty early in the morning to go for that. Up in front, though, Jess Visser is doing an incredible job of leading. She's not looking back, and that's exactly what it needs to do. The white flag is out. The final few corners are now in sight. Olivia Krasnowska, the desperation sends, you can see, are definitely on the table right now, and all Katharina has to do is keep it between the mayo and the mustard. Jess, similar prospects right now as she looks ahead to nobody in front of her, and through they go into the final sector now and around the final corner, and this is going to be it down to the start finish straight. It's a drag race to the line, but I think it's going to be as it was. Jess Visser is going to take P1, Katharina Geisler second, Olivia Krasnowska third, and Afrin Sheed going to come home in fourth. And your photo finish though, Sauger, at the end with Katharina and Krasnowska.
A great finish, and you could definitely throw a blanket across all 3 drivers, as it was a 10th back and then another 10th back to Krasnowska there in the 899. Phenomenal run by all the drivers tonight, and Afrin Shahid coming home in P4, as well as the true prize is just making it home to the checkered flag some days.
Absolutely. It's all about finishing. To finish first you have to finish, and Afrin Sheed coming to the line now with a brilliant result as well. It's all about the finish, the experience, Sauger, at the end of the day. Now, here at Screen to Speed, that's something that we do welcome, of course, is the fact that we have drivers of all levels, whether you're up at the speed of the top 2 right now, which is, of course, Katharina and Jess, or Sarah Dove, or any of the names that are not here. Christina Ryan as well, of course, being another one of those names that we can mention that took a victory in her previous race. So not this time around, though, unfortunately. We also will take a very quick break for those watching over on Esports Edge, just a quick advertisement, and also anyone watching live, though, here on any other platform, we will still be here. But Sauger, let's talk about that one. A bit of more difficulty than I expected when it came to overtaking. Jess Visser managing to do an incredible job of holding Katharina for the entire race, knocking on the door, but unfortunately she was never let in.
It was a close battle at the checkered flag nonetheless, but the battle still alive between Jessica Wesser and Katharina Geisler pretty much for the entire race. That 2-2 and 3-2, both German drivers battled it out from the early onset and continued to wrestle on for pretty much the entire race there, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always exciting to see those two link up on track, as both in real life and on the sim, they're basically equals pretty much, as it seems, and constantly giving each other their all. And on top of that, of course, pushing each other to do bigger and better things. Both of them had some real life track experience recently as well. So really showing that converts over to the sim, and the sim converting to real life. And of course, the loop is made, the perfect loop that we often talk about with sim racing, the dream that all drivers once have. Now, Sauger, with race 1, of course, being done and dusted, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the upcoming events that we have here at Init Esports?
Well, on the books coming up on May 23rd, we have the Legends Ford Coupe at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Roval, and this is an open league, so anybody is welcome to join and participate at any point in time. It is a great car. These things are free to use and drive as far as I know, and they are just absolute machines. As Mike knows and talks about quite frequently, these are basically old 1934 Ford Coupes with motorbike engines in them, and they're just high torque machines that run around racetracks and around ovals or around road tracks. They are just absolutely a blast, Mike. On top of that, we have more coming up. It's going to be Kansas Motor Speedway on May 30th, 2 p.m. Eastern. This is the NASCAR Truck Series coming up, and this is another open event for anybody to join in and participate in. So welcome to participate. The sign-in link is on the screen. Make sure you get involved in all of the racing action.
Do not want to miss a beat. And also, talking about those legends, you've heard the term high speed, low drag. Those cars are low speed, high drag, but my goodness, are they an absolute ton of fun. Again, you can scan those QR codes to find a link over to our Discord as well. So that's where you can find all of our wonderful community. And on top of that, any information for any of the events that we're talking about here or in the future. But Sagar, let's go back on topic here a little bit and let's talk about the action that we expect heading in here. So with race 2 on the horizon, Katrina Geisler, of course, being the one that could have, and on top of that, let's take a little mention on Olivia Krasnowska, somebody who just, again, recently I mentioned had some success. In fact, last weekend finished 10th in her 2.0 Hot Rod Championship. So doing a very solid job over there. And also, I think, finishing the youngest woman to podium in that championship as well. So Olivia doing some incredible things. You can find her Instagram over on, yes, you guessed it, it is Instagram at Tracing or OKAT Racing. We'll give it that. There we go. And she is doing some awesome things over there. You can go follow her career and her journey in stock cars and all sorts of different events. And again, on top of that, of course, a massive shout out to all of the drivers that take part in these series. Jess Vesser and Katrina Geisler taking part in pretty much, if not every single Screen to Speed race that we've had on for the past nearly 3 years. So two basically anchors in the community we see out on track. And then Afrin Shade, who joined us not too long ago, fairly few months ago, seeing her out on circuit. Brilliant driver and one of the up-and-coming ones as well to watch out on. Currently with a rookie license, Sagar, but I think that will change in the next coming months.
Absolutely. One of the things that we love to see as part of this community is the growth of these individuals and of the drivers, right? And we've seen a lot of these drivers come through the ranks from rookies through A license, gain I rating, lose I rating, everything in between as well, and really push themselves as far as what they're comfortable with doing. Speaking with a couple of the drivers that are part of the Init team, as you mentioned earlier, if you're interested in joining the Init team, shoot a message, get involved, and join up. We had drivers participate in the Indy 500. We had drivers participate in the Michelin Pilot Challenge. We had a few drivers participate in many of these endurance events as solo participants to see if they were ready to go and excel at events such as the Nürburgring 24.
Absolutely. And with that, of course, trying to take part in as many splits as possible. So whether you are a little bit lower in skill or whether you are an absolute professional or whether you think that you're a professional, and we all know how that often goes, but no, you can find yourself out there. But let's get into the event here coming up. This is going to be the gridding order as well as the finishing order. We have race 2 on the way and on the horizon here. Jess Visser taking victory from Germany with Katrina Geisler directly behind, and Olivia Krasnowska, a glimmer of hope at the end of what could have been. But I think this time around, now that she sees the weaknesses, could potentially throw a monkey wrench into the equation of these top two, and Afrin Shade, again, down in 4th. But I'm very curious if Olivia can get ahead of, let's say, Katrina or even both of those two at the start of next race, Sagar. I'm very curious what can happen. We've seen the defensive masterclass that Olivia can put on. Can she do the same in the Formula Vs, though? That is the question.
It'll be a challenge because unless you've put in a tremendous amount of practice into these machines, they're very much tricky, fickle machines to master, especially at a track like VIR where the track limits are punishing and on the edge of cohesion there as where you're pushing these tires. It's just an extremely challenging position to be in, and I know Jessica Wesser and Katharina Geisler have just put in a tremendous amount of time to be prepared for an event like this, such as they were prepared for the real life events that they participated in recently as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I do want to take a little moment here. It's segue over as we're getting ready for race 2 to begin here and talk a little bit about the track that these drivers are racing on. As this is a circuit that is reopened in 2000. However, this is not the whole history of this track. It was open very, very long ago. In fact, it was closed back in 1974 and then reverted back into pasture, as initially it was farmland back in the early 30s and into the 40s. They turned it into a racetrack post-war and then closed it in 1974, turned it back into farms, and then somebody said, you know what? Let's turn that farm back into a racetrack. Why not? That's where you can see some of those barns being some of the original structures as well, I think, from the track. And now out onto the circuit they go and into the farmland to tackle the American track known as Virginia International Raceway. The Formula V's on the docket for right now. This is race 2 of 2 tonight. Jess Visser on pole position with Katharina Geisler, her counterpart alongside. We have Olivia Karnowska in 4th and Afrin Shade down at the back, last but certainly not least. It's going to be a standing start with these Formula V's. The red lights are going to come on. It's nearly a flat-out start as these cars have 76 foot-pounds of torque. And away they go, and Olivia Karnowska had an amazing phase 1, but immediately had a massive loss of traction in phase 2. Now, into the battle for turn 1 as Afrin Shahid has managed to get herself alongside. Nose ahead for the time being, but Karnowska, can she go late enough on the brakes? There's contact at the apex. Both drivers, though, able to keep their heads on a swivel and managing to keep it both tires still on the circuit. Up ahead, Jess Visser and Katharina Geisler also having their little bout, but this is a massive setback early on for Olivia Karnowska. She's looking to right the wrong, though, and head to the inside of Afrin Shade in the next few corners, and it looks like that is going to be job done and damage mitigated for the time being, but that gap now 1.6 seconds to the back of the top 2.
Looking up ahead, coming through the snake section and all the run down towards turn 7. It will be Wesser leading Geisler, and then Krausanowska, and then Efren Shahid in 4th place. The 43 trailing after an early battle with that 899, but wheels collide coming out of left hook through 5 and 5B, and then through the snake. It all was Olivia's to run away with. Hopefully she can catch up to and keep in contention the 2 duos up ahead. That'll be Wesser and Geisler, who keep on running away with this gap, but we've seen them make mistakes before. Hopefully we don't see mistakes happen again, but when you're pushing at the limit, these ladies are, mistakes are going to happen.
And as we saw as well before, the monkey see, monkey do can play an effect where they nearly are driving wheel well to wheel well and also basically in each other's tire tracks. And with that, as you mentioned, Sagar, on the limit at all times, you see somebody brake a little bit later, well, guess what? You're going to do the exact same thing. And that's really what led these two into the grips of Krasnowska in the previous race. Nothing came of it, though. This time, I will say, Olivia seems to have found a little bit more pace and a little bit more fire in this second race. On the board, though, with Katharina Geisler, as she is all over the back again of Visser. Through they go into the first sector and moving on to sector 2. Again, this is where the overtaking becomes fairly minimal, but if you can get a good enough slingshot and a good enough run down into the braking zone of 7, you can make something stick. But here, a little bit too far back in this occasion. Top speeds, you can see of about 100 miles an hour in these cars. So you can see they have a lot of gears down at the bottom, but no, they only have 4 gears to their name, and mostly you're going to be running in 3rd through this circuit, Sagar. But right now, this is a bit of just that feeling out game where you sort of see where the weaknesses are of your opponent and try to make something stick. But Katharina, she doesn't want to fall into that same routine that she did in the previous race.
No, you don't want to be a bridesmaid twice in a row when the opportunity to step on the high step of the podium is available to you. But of course, you want to do it without contact, without collision, and you want to do it cleanly on the racetrack, especially when you share a sim room with your partner.
Yes, exactly. And that's always, again, a awkward conversation that absolutely nobody wants to have at the end of the day. But we would love to see a little drama here tonight. I will be honest, maybe a little dive bomb here, dive bomb there. And obviously, I don't want to see any contact, but I would love to see Katharina going to go a little aggressive here and try some desperation moves. That's something she hasn't really done yet, but obviously, we saw what happens in the previous race. If you do get a little too desperate, you can end up losing quite a lot of time. Right now, though, time is of the essence, and time is a friend for Katharina. She's just going to work her opponent down like a lightweight boxer heading into the 10th round, pretty much. I do want to talk as well, before we have a moment of battling, about the upcoming races here at Speed. This, of course, being Virginia International Raceways and the Formula Vs. However, every single month we have a different car and we have a different track. Next up is going to be Snetterton in the Mazda MX-5. Again, all free content for our all-women's championship, or excuse me, all-women's series, not championship, Screen to Speed. That is going to be June 21st. Up next for Snetterton's in the MX-5, and then to bring this 6-month calendar to a close, and don't worry folks, we will be announcing the next 6-month calendar very, very shortly, Orin Park in the Ray FF1600s. Nearly similar to these cars, however quite different, a lot faster, a lot heavier gearing, and also, again, just a different style. Taking a look at Olivia Krasnowska though, Sagar, what does she need to do here to find a little bit more pace?
Right now, her pace is actually not too shabby. 1:43.9 that last time around. Let's see what she can produce this time by. She crosses the stripe. It'll be a 1:43.6. So again, she's only 0.6 off the mark from the leaders ahead, or putting down 43.0s. But I think it's a matter of slow and steady will win the race. She had a good battle with Efren Shaid early on in this race, and it just did not go her way. Unfortunately, she lost about, well, 3 seconds worth of time. And that's the gap we're seeing right now. So she needs a little bit of help from Lesser and Geisler right now to give her 3 seconds of time back. And the more these ladies continue their battle, that time will definitely come to Olivia Krasnowska.
Yeah, absolutely. Need to, again, see a little bit more out of Katharina if that is going to be the prospect. And as I speak, it looks like we are going to start to see that. The pressure piling on. I think we just didn't want to see too early of a move from Katharina, and I wonder if that's what she was thinking as well. If you make a move too early, that gives you the opportunity to become a victim later. And, well, Katharina wants to make the one-and-done overtake and not look back. Visser, though, doing everything she can and everything in her power to keep the counterpart behind. Again, where do you pull the trigger if you are Geisler? Going to take maybe a mistake. That is something that you can hear the gearing. Yeah, maybe a missed gear here and there from these drivers. Now, I will say this car in general just sounds like it's missing a gear every single time you shift it. But I can assure you, it is still possible. It is still a very, very difficult car to drive.
Definitely sounded like an unhealthy style of popping there as we're on the gearbox. Jessica Lesser, number 22. And back after 32 of Katharina Geisler right now. Who closes down the gap. Coming in through turn 1, the horseshoe now. Before we get to turn 2 and turn 3 of NASCAR, Sarah Lesser is able to pull a little bit of the gap. Geisler now mounts over the curbs and closes down her own margins on her own terms.
Using all that curbing to her advantage as well. You know, we talk about some other circuits that we've been on, for example, our previous Team America race that we had over at Spa-Francorchamps, or previous, as we just had the LMP2s at, sorry, I thought I saw a move potentially on there. But we just had the LMP2s over Interlagos in the previous race. But Spa, for example, used some very high curbs that a lot of the cars, for example, like before that we were driving in that race, cannot take. Here at VIR, it's almost more of a motorbike course. You can see very low curbing, meaning these drivers can be extremely aggressive aggressive and even kick up a little bit of grass occasionally in straight line. For example, this corner here, it's not surprising to see drivers dip into the grass, as well as this one here, just creating more of a straight line, as that's what these cars like. Sagar, they don't really like turning, considering they have almost zero downforce whatsoever.
And there you hear that popping again as the drivers go up in the fourth here out of hot pen down the front straight away. So I think that just is something that is a nature of the vehicles tonight. And far back is going to be Olivia Krasnowska trying to close down her run. 1:43.68 that last time by. We'll check in as well with Efren Shaid, the UAE driver, in fourth place right now, running 22 seconds back from Krasnowska.
And looking at the lap times of Krasnowska, I don't want to say I've been there because Olivia's a little bit more talented than me, but I've been there. When you have the drivers up ahead that are consistently lapping 2-3 tenths up more than you, and you're pushing to the absolute maximum that you can, but you just don't have the pace. And I think Olivia at this point has backed off just slightly as her lap times have dwindled down a couple tenths. However, I think this is just sort of the make it home mode, and on top of that, hope for a little bit of disaster up ahead as she had in the previous race, maybe a light at the end of the tunnel, as we've seen mistakes from our top two in the past, and well, they're getting closer together, and that's when mistakes can happen. So Olivia driving at the pace at which she knows that she cannot mess up pretty much. So will we see a mistake out of Jess? Will we see a mistake out of Katharina? Well, that's what Olivia is hoping for.
Well, we saw the hopes and dreams of Olivia come true in the last race. Be true in this race as the two German drivers charge their way forward and put down yet another set of pretty predictable laps. 43-2, 43-1 for the duo in the lead of this event. And a puff of smoke coming out of the gearbox there as the driver Katharina Geisler downshifts coming through the horseshoe.
I would say frustratingly consistent if you're Olivia Krasnowska for these top two. There is a little bit of a tire squeal, it looked like, as maybe just a little too hot through the corner was Visser, and that is going to be an issue. These tires, when they start to heat up, again, these are grooved, slick tires. Now, for those at home that maybe aren't so apt in terms of racing, what does that mean? On to our producer, also commentator, shows us on screen. And look at that, the tires on the left-hand side of the right tire, the right-hand side of the left tire, they're a perfect view of it. You see that little tiny groove in there, and a lot of people might ask, well, what is the point of that? I have that on my road tire. Isn't that a good thing? Yes, on your road car, it absolutely is. However, what this does on a racetrack is it only lowers traction, so it makes these cars just a little bit more squirrely. And on top of that, you can't see the rear tire right now, but the rear has even more grooves in it, breaking the traction up even more, so adding even more difficulty to the cars. And there you can see a great shot in the toe. And also, Sagar, I think just the elephant in the room, the transmission in the gearbox, it's right there.
Yeah, and I was noticing a couple of exposed hoses there as well, going to the rear brakes. Hopefully those are protected from the suspension components as well. But a great look right now at Katharina Geisler, who's trying her charge on Jessica Wesser, the leader, as we go into the final 3 minutes of this event. We've only got a few laps left of running. This is where we saw the mistakes come out and play last time around, but this time, not so much.
No, not so much indeed, not yet, at least. Anything can happen in motor racing, and it normally does, Sagar, but right now, I want to talk a little bit more about these cars, as we haven't quite done that as much as I would like. Again, these cars, we have used a term a few times that I should have explained earlier, but it's called downforce. You often hear mechanical grip, aerodynamic grip, and downforce. These are all terms that mean similar things, but not quite the same. Now, downforce in aerodynamic grip, yes, those are the two same, but the cannon is a little bit different. That's what these cars have. Heavily reliant on the suspension geometry. You can see how there isn't any air pushing the car to the ground, so basically every bit of movement is felt by the driver through the push rods, the pull rods, and the suspension of the car. Unlike in, for example, a Formula One car where you see all those little sticky outy bits, the canards, the can-oughts, the can-dos, and all of the fancy wings and winglets that they have as well. What those do is provide air to push down on top of the car, basically creating a little vacuum, not quite, but kind of, to the circuit, sucking the car, pushing the car down onto the track, allowing it to go much, much faster through corners than your traditional road car, or, for example, these cars can.
Absolutely. Great analysis of what these cars can and cannot do on the racetrack and what makes them so unique to other cars that we've seen throughout these championships on Init. Taking a look now from the NASCAR cam from Jessica Wesser and Katharina Geisler as they chop it up on the penultimate lap.
Also got a great view of the Virginia countryside, the virtual Virginia countryside. I can almost hear the cicadas as we speak. Visser, though, back on subject, has done everything she's needed to do so far and just has to do it for a few more corners. Coming into turn 7, halfway through the lap at this point and up into 4th gear, and she'll be moving back down to third one last time into the braking zone. Turn 7, Katrina Geisler. We see a desperation send. She went a little bit deep, trying to carry the momentum back through into the next part of the circuit, but on their way through the roller coaster, this is where the blind corners begin. And again, visibility, well, you guessed it, is a luxury. Through they go on the downhill, back up the hill, and then back down one more time for the final few corners of VIR and Screen to Speed. Event 4 here tonight. Here we go, on board with Jess Visser. She manages to go through the final corner one last time onto the loud pedal. And as she gets ready to head to the line, the checkered flag will be graciously awaiting her. Jess Visser will take victory in not just one race, but both. On her way to the line, it is going to be the victory for Jessica Visser. Behind her, her counterpart, Katrina Geisler, taking home 2nd position in the 32. Olivia Krasnowska, hard-fought effort here in the 2nd race, but unfortunately the luck did not play out in her favor, and Afrin Shahid will be bringing up 4th position. And last, but obviously Sagar certainly not least as always. A brilliant little event here tonight. Jess Visser and Katrina Geisler sort of being the stars of the show.
Absolutely a great show tonight, but all 4 drivers doing their best part of showing up and showing out here at a very tricky racetrack.
Yes, absolutely. Now, folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be hearing from our drivers very, very shortly. The interviews will be coming up, so we will be rounding up our drivers as they get back into the pit lanes, get out of their cars, and have a little bit of a debrief with some of the drivers. But in the meantime, of course, a massive thank you to everybody that is taking part in these events and watching, whether you're live now or a VOD watcher. We have a massive thank you. And if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, if you hit that like or follow button, we appreciate that a lot. And again, we're live as well over on Esports Edge. A massive shout out to all of the Esports Edge crew. We are going to be taking a brief little advertisement, but in the meantime, we will be back in about 2 minutes time over on Esports Edge. So a thank you to all over there. Now, we have, of course, coming up, the interviews and the breakdown of the event. Jess Visser and Katharina Geisler being, again, the top 2 sort of stars of the show here tonight, but it was a race of what if for Katharina as she tried her absolute hardest to get by, despite the fact that she had the fastest lap in both race 1 and race 2. It just wasn't enough, and I'm wondering, we'll get to hear from her later, what Jess did and what Katharina didn't do here tonight.
I'm definitely interested to hear what the drivers were capable of doing and what they were capable of not able to do here for these drivers, because, you know, we heard from them time and time again that we can have drivers participate in some events but not participate in others due to other obligations or other commitments. But some of these ladies take this so seriously. It's amazing, you know, because they love this championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that again with just the consistency of the drivers showing up. Ever since Olivia Krasnowska has joined, I think she's missed one event to her name, and I think that was due to the fact that she had a real-life race on that day. So, you know, fair enough, fair enough. It's certainly a good excuse. We are just now rounding up our drivers again here, and we will be with them very, very shortly. But I'm looking forward to hearing from both Jessica, well, all three of them, to be completely honest, again, as they are anchors of the community, very, very strong parts. But again, here are the results here for tonight. Jess Visser taking home P1, Katharina Geisler taking home second, Olivia Krasnowska third, fourth, going to Afrin Shahid down from the UAE. But of course, a little bit to be said about our sponsors. Before we do get into that, of course, a massive shout out to Regadget, making all these events possible, as we do have, of course, them as our title sponsor for not just Team America, but also, of course, here for Screen to Speed. There you can see the epic Phoenix bundle as well on screen right now. You can head on over to shop.regadget.com for some incredible discounts using code INIT, and on top of that, it's just an incredible deal in general. Starting at $1,500 for their Phoenix bundle. Lots of variabilities, lots of customizations, and on top of that, they're flexible as well. There's more bundles to be had, whether you're looking for a PC for Rocket League, or if you're looking for a PC for Fortnite, or if you're looking for something more intense like iRacing. Again, the Phoenix is the PC that you are looking for. Also, Regadget, of course, will take your old equipment and refurbish it, get it out to somebody that needs it, whether it's a library, whether it's a school, whether it's a family in need. If you have a hunk of junk sitting in the corner that you're just going to throw away, don't throw it away. Send it over to Regadget and they will refurbish it and get it back up. And again, no cost to you whatsoever. They will pay for the shipping. Now, Sagar, I think we've had the opportunity, though, to round up some of these drivers, and we will be hearing from our third place here coming up very shortly.
Absolutely. We will talk to our race winner, then P2, then P3 here very shortly. We've got them loaded up and ready to go in just a few moments time as well. But Mike, let's walk through this event and tell us a little bit about what you thought of this amazing bout tonight.
Well, certainly, as we, of course, had a slightly lower turnout than expected, it still was not one to miss. Jess and Katharina showing their skills off as always. And on top of that, of course, the drama that we had in race one, I was hoping that we saw a little bit more out of Olivia Krasnowska trying to make some moves, but she tried her absolute heart out. Let's not make a effort. There wasn't for lack of effort, let's put it that way. It just was more the fact that Katharina just had the pace and was nearly unstoppable in terms of being overtaken. Heading into race two, a little different story in terms of Olivia's prospects, but for the top two, it was similar. Battling pretty much the entire time, or really just Katharina trying to play that chess game at 100 miles an hour with her counterpart, and where do I make the moves? Where can I find that opportunity? But at the end of the day, race one result was the same as race two for our top three there, and the points fall as they will. So it certainly makes math very, very easy for the stewards at home. But Katharina being the victor here tonight, and again, Jess being the victor here tonight, as I'm looking at the wrong profile in Discord. But either way, we'll be hearing from them in a moment. And in the meantime, again, a massive thank you to everybody that does make these events possible, aka Esports UK, Esports Edge, eClutch, and all of the lovely partners. Of course, Regadget, our title sponsor, and Init Esports, where we run loads of events, as well as not just including Screen to Speed. We have our Team America, NASCAR. We have lots of stuff on the horizon. But Sagar, as we have it, I think we're ready to pull
go.
In. Excellent. As now we have our drivers coming on in. We get to hear from our P1 finisher. Up first, it is going to be Jess Visser. Jess, first off, welcome. Always nice, lovely to have you in the booth. But a great drive here tonight. Katharina was all over your tail, but you couldn't shake her, but she never made the move. How was it from your perspective? Oh, do we have using Discord, Jess? It's minor technical difficulties. We'll be hearing from Jess here very shortly, as we will be very back in a second. Again, seeing just the smiles from Jess's face, always welcome, as always. You love to see the dedication, the enthusiasm, and the effort that is put in. Jess, right before the race, saying, where are all the ladies at here joining us here tonight? And yes, of course, I love to see that attitude. So we will try once more, and hopefully again, using Discord audio. Jess, we will be hearing from her in a moment. I think you're muted in Discord. Yes, here we go. As we can get a copy, I think this time, from our P1 finisher, Jess Visser. Let's try that one more time. Jess, you had Katharina all over you. You couldn't shake her, but she couldn't make the moves. How was this race from your perspective?
Yeah, it was the first one really good. We didn't focus at first on driving, not to fight too much, but at the end of race 1 I made a little mistake. So yeah, it was then a little bit closer than we wanted. So yeah, but everything went good, and yeah, it was a really nice race.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about that mistake in race 1, because I think it was sort of you that caused it, if I'm not mistaken, and then Katharina followed you suit by making the exact same mistake. A little monkey see, monkey do in that case.
Yeah, it's really hard, because if you are in the draft with this car, so yeah, and I'm in the lead, and I I lift the brakes a little too early, and yeah, then I get too much rotation, and yeah, so Kati did it too.
And then you obviously had Olivia that caught up as a result. She tried her absolute hardest, but couldn't make it stick. A story that I think will be told here for the future. But Jess, before we do let you go here tonight, as always, is there anybody that you would like to thank for your victory?
Yeah, I would thank Kati. We trained really hard together, and without her it wouldn't be possible. So yeah, big thank you, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the next races, and I hope that all the others will be there too. But today, yeah, I think 7 drivers we were actually planned to be, but yeah, the rest wasn't there.
Yes, indeed. I know. We're hoping for a much, much larger turnout as we get ready to head over to Snetterton in the MX-5s on June 21st. Same time as well that we had today. But Jess, a massive thank you as always, again, being one of the core anchors here in the Screen to Speed community. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And again, enjoy the champagne.
Thank you very much.
Now, we'll be hearing from our second place finisher here very shortly, as Sagar has had the time to catch up with them. But in the meantime, again, of course, a massive shout out to all of the drivers for taking part. But Sagar, I'll let you take it from here. As we will in a second, as we, of course, here we go into the interviews one more time. Again, a massive shout out to everybody making these events possible, whether you are in behind the scenes, whether you are in front of the camera, or you're one of the drivers that is out on track. It's a village, as of course our boss Steffi Bao would say, to make this all possible, and it absolutely is. So with that being said, here, Sagar, I think we can now have our second interview with Katharina.
One moment, Mike. We're having a couple of
no
technical
worries.
difficulties here.
No worries, no worries. As of course, wrangling up the drivers is always a fun prospect. But in the meantime, again, we'll just do another quick little ad read here while we have it. A massive shout out to eClutch, as I just want to take a moment to thank, of course, eClutch in the MENA region where we will be broadcasted to, and on top of that, Esports Edge over on Roku. We have, of course, great partnership with them. If you are interested, head on over to esportsedge.gg. You can find all the information. You can get that scheduled for all sorts of different esports, not just sim racing. You can find a little bit of Rainbow Six Siege, maybe a little bit of Valorant, or any sorts of anything. I think even down to Team Fortress 2 I've seen on there at some points in time. So if you're looking for some gaming content, head on over. Esports Edge is the place to be. Now, as we do have, again, waiting for the next few interviews, Katharina Geisler, Olivia Krasnowska are on deck. And we'll be hearing from them very, very shortly. But, again, Sagar, a little bit of breakdown, I think, to talk about the future race that we have coming up, as of course next up, as I mentioned, Snetterton Circuit in the Mazda MX-5s. We get to change car make and manufacturer quite drastically. So we go from Jess's specialty, actually. So seeing Jess out on the formulas winning is not a surprise, I think, to absolutely anybody. That's pretty much her expertise. But Katharina, a little bit more apt in the sports car championships, and we'll see the differences play out, as the MX-5, I think, is a car that, well, we all know if you drove in iRacing and you've done any rookie racing whatsoever that was in the sports cars, you probably have had a chance to tackle the Mazda MX-5s. They're sharp, they're snappy, they're pointy, but they're planted at the same time. And I know you say, well, how does that make any sense? How are they planted and how are they sharp? Well, it's mainly due to the fact that I like to say that they go from crippling understeer to violent oversteer very, very fast. And if you can keep it within the limit, it's a very easy car to drive. But as soon as you exceed it, it is an absolute havoc. And also, of course, Snetterton Circuit being free content on iRacing is absolutely amazing. One of the best British tracks. We'll be running the full, or don't quote me on that one, but we will be running Snetterton in the MX-5s. Again, June 21st. For those that are interested, you can head on over to the website, screentospeed.com, for more signups. And up next, in terms of our roadmap, is going to be the next Road America in the GT3s. That's for our Team America Championship, our All-American qualifiers for the World Championships. If you are interested in that and you're an American citizen and would like to take part, you can head on over to our websites, inesports.gg, to find that information. The GT3s always are a competition. We've had Jordan Johnson, who took victory in the GT3s in race 1, and in race 2 as well in the GT4s, and then race 3 in the FIA F4s. We had a different winner in the previous one, though, into the LMP2s. In fact, a new driver joining us and taking victory. So storylines to be told. And again, new drivers are always welcome, as Team America is not just about winning a race. You don't just qualify by taking victory. It's not a championship. No, we're looking at how you perform through different cars, different makes, different models, and also different tracks. On top of that, we've seen lots of drivers start extremely well, but then fall down the order and then climb back up. That is what we're looking for. Drivers with grit, determination, and moxie, as I'll put it. Haven't used that word on broadcast, I don't think, ever, but hey, it's a first time for everything and a first time for you as well, if you would like to sign up in the teams. On that as well, in it teams, we run as for all of the official iRacing events and in other communities as well. It's a community team with, of course, some opportunities for some coaching as well. So we have a little bit of a data breakdown. We can go over telemetries. We can go over all sorts of different stuff with Sai, our team engineer, as we're going to call him. It's my title that I've just given him. And that's all available here on Init Esports. Now, Sagar, I think we have had the opportunity. I've rambled on enough. I think we can hear from our second place finishers. You've had the chance to catch up with Katharina Geisler.
Katharina, do you have a copy loud and clear?
Yes. Can you hear me too?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. How are you doing on this fine evening?
Very good. I feel good. The race went very well, even though we had a little moment in race 1. But in the end, all worked out and it was fun. So shout out to you to make it as possible, to Screen to Speed, to setting up these races. And for all the girls out there come and join. This is so much fun. You can learn a lot from each other, so let's go.
Absolutely. Well, you've taken all the words and questions out of my mouth. What do you enjoy about this? What do you like to see going forward? Things like that. But, you know, we talked about it a lot throughout the race, kind of preparation. We've talked about it when we were doing the Michelin Pilot Challenge practice coming up. We've talked about it, you know, throughout the Init team, what events we'd like to look forward to as well. You know, it seems like you ladies take this very seriously. So what kind of preparation goes into an event like this?
Yeah, we did practice the whole week. We had some practice servers set up, practice the drafting, try to figure out how to keep the car on track. Yeah, and I think in the end this all worked out with the little moment we had, but let's forget about that one. We take it to the finish line, so.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you ladies were part of some sort of Olympic swim team, the way you guys had swung out together at the exact same time. It was absolutely hilarious. And we did catch that one on stream, so you get to watch that one back live here on Twitch.
Awesome.
Final thoughts, and anybody you'd like to shout out or anybody you'd like to thank tonight?
Thanks to you guys for, like I said, setting this up. It's a really great opportunity. It's a lot of fun. It's always fun to drive with Jesse. We push each other. That's absolutely nice and very cool. So, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Really appreciate you. Have a great night. And as always, stay safe out there.
Thank you. You too. Have a good one.
Now we have one more driver to hear from Olivia Krasnowska, but I always love to hear again from the dynamic duo, Katharina and Jess. Katharina always glimmering with a smile and optimistic as always. And yeah, you know, you love to hear the fact, again, the dedication, the fact that they show up always, and also pushing each other to do bigger and better things at all times, really. And the same can be said for all the screen to speed drivers, really. At the end of the day, we throw practices. We love to see the drivers out on track together and pushing each other to the fullest extent. Now, I think, though, we have the opportunity to hear from our third place finisher here tonight, Olivia Krasnowska. So we'll be hearing from her very, very shortly. A driver, again, that had the opportunity potentially for a win here tonight, but unfortunately, the slipped out of her prospects. Let's see, though, and hear from, in fact, again, I'm very curious what sort of glimmers were felt at that opportunity and the chances to strike were there. We'll be hearing from her very, very shortly.
Olivia's here and ready to go.
Lovely. As we will now head on over to the podium room and the interview room as we have Olivia Krasnowska with her second podium finish. Not quite the highest driver turnout, unfortunately, tonight, Olivia, but still always a pleasure to have you out on circuit. Let's talk a little bit about race one, as it was pretty straightforward, all things considered, until it wasn't, where all of a sudden the light at the end of the tunnel was seen and potentially P1 was in your grips. How did that feel, and what was the thought process when that happened?
Yeah, I seen the timing boards dramatically go down. I think it was about 4 seconds, and it was down to a couple tenths. I didn't really know what had happened. Obviously, I don't know if they came together or they missed the breaking point. I was just hoping that maybe I could chance them into a mistake. I know my pace wasn't really there this week, so.
On top of that, though, I will say the pace maybe not quite being there, but heading through, I'm very curious how you're looking forward to the next race as we go over to a track that maybe isn't quite your home circuit, but a little bit closer to home than VIR. And on top of that, heading into the MX5s. How are we feeling for the next event?
Yeah, I enjoy driving the MX5s. The track I've never been a fan of. It's never been one that I've got on with. I've always found issue with it, but hopefully with some fine tuning I can sort out those issues.
Now, I wanted to give you a chance here, as let's take a step away from the sim racing side of things and, of course, talk about the fact that, well, you have a real-life racing career underway, and just a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, I should say, nearly 10 days ago, you had quite the event, P10 finish in your 2.0s. What do you want to talk about that one at all a little bit?
Yeah. It was the European Championship weekend for the two-layer hot rods. It was against some of the best drivers in England, Ireland and Scotland, so it's a whole group of cars on the grid. I believe we started 15th, managed to make our way up to 10th, which was a very good result. Considering it was my first ever championship. The qualifying events take place on the Saturday, so it's heat racing. Final position makes up the European Championship. Then grids follow from that.
And you being the youngest woman to finish on a podium for that championship, as well as you just casually gloss over that fact as well. But no, a great job, Olivia. I love to see you out on track in real life and virtual. It's always a pleasure. Is there anybody that you would like to thank before we move on here tonight and close out?
Yeah, I would love to take the time to say a special thank you to Phoenix Sim Racing. The amount of effort that they've put in, coaching hours, they're a great community. I think everybody should go and check them out. And I'd love to take the time, obviously, connecting to real racing, to say a thank you to my uncle Doogie over at DD Motors. We wouldn't be able to race if it wasn't for him, so I'd just love to take the time to say thank you to him.
Amazing. Well, Olivia, it's always a pleasure to have you out on circuit, and we're looking forward to the next time as well. Enjoy the champagne on this one, and good luck as well in your real-life racing here coming up in the next couple weekends.
Thank you.
Now, folks, that is going to do it here tonight for the interviews, but a few more words of promotion before we do end this one out tonight. I'll save the whole spiel, as we've already talked about it a little bit, but we, of course, have Snetterton coming up on the 21st. This is going to be in the MX-5s. The Snetterton 300 layout is up next, and it is, of course, our women's only championship. That's what you're watching here tonight, or today, whether you're watching in the North Americas. You can scan that QR code, find yourself over on the Innit Esports website or in the Discord as well, and join for more information. Now, we also have Team America coming up, as I briefly talked about. It's the GT3s in Road America, maybe one of, if not the most classic car track combos in North America. You certainly don't want to miss it. It's open to all U.S. citizens, and it's an open class race as well with open setup. So feel free to get your most competitive ride out there and have a boatload of fun. Of course, as well, a massive thank you to all of the events, or all of the sponsors that make these events possible. Regadget, as you can see on the hood of that car, being our title sponsor here for tonight. And, of course, a massive shout out to AK Esports UK, iRacing, of course, for letting us use their platform, and Esports Edge and Roku and eClutch. Now, Sauger, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we do wrap this one up here tonight?
Just a big shout out and thanks to everybody watching live now or in the future. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for being here.
And on that note, folks, that is going to do it for us here at Innit Esports. I hope absolutely everybody has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Thank you, and good night.